The space station floated quietly between the stars, like a giant silver flower blooming in the dark sky. Its lights blinked softly, and inside, people from many worlds walked through shining halls. Humans, aliens, diplomats, and their families lived here in peace. It was a place for learning and friendship between different species. Among them was a 10-year-old boy named Liam Cross. His father was a human, ambassador working on peaceful agreements with other planets. Liam didn't like politics, he liked exploring. While his father attended long meetings, Liam often wandered through the station's gardens, imagining he was a space explorer. One day, Liam found a quiet place at the far end of the garden dome. Crystal trees stood tall, their leaves glowing. Faintly blue, a small fountain hummed in the middle. He thought he was alone until he heard a soft laugh. Turning around, he saw a girl sitting on a curved bench. She had long silver blue hair and skin that shimmered like pale lavender. Her eyes were large, glowing faintly with soft golden light. She wore simple clothes, not like the guards or nobles he sometimes saw on the station. She looked about his age. "You're human," she said, smiling, "and you're not." Liam replied, curious. The girl giggled. "I'm from Borealis. Not supposed to be here without my guards. But it's boring always being watched." Liam sat beside her. "I sneak away too. Grown-ups talk too much." She nodded. "I'm Aveline, Liam." They stared at each other for a moment. Then Liam pointed at the stars beyond the dome. "Do you ever wonder if there's something more out there? Like a place where people don't care about what planet you're from?" "All the time," Aveline said. "Sometimes I wish I could run away in a little ship and just be free." Liam grinned. "If I had a ship, I'd take you with me." I smiled again. "Softer this time, would you?" He nodded seriously. "And when I grow up, I'll come back and I'll marry you." Aveline blinked in surprise. "Marry me?" "Yeah. We'll live on a planet where we can look at the stars every night. No guards, no rules, just us." Aveline tilted her head. Her people were royal, strict, traditional. Liam didn't seem to care about titles. Spoke with a child's honesty. No one had ever promised her anything like that. "All right," she whispered. "It's a promise, then." They both laughed, and for the rest of the day, they ran through the gardens, played word games, and told each other dreams. But all good moments end the next day. Liam was told by his father that their time on the station was over. "We're leaving." "Tomorrow," his father said, packing his briefcase. "New assignment on Mars colony." Liam's heart dropped. He ran to the garden dome one last time, but Aveline wasn't there. He didn't know she had been taken back to her chambers the night before. The palace guards had found out she was meeting someone alone and tightened her security. So Liam sat alone on their bench. Holding a small flower he had picked, he whispered to the stars, "I'll come back, I promised." On the other side of the station, Aveline stared out her window. "Princess," her maid said gently, "you must forget the human boy. You are meant for royal duties." But Aveline closed her eyes, her hand holding the small wooden bead bracelet. Liam had given her something he had made from earth materials. "I will not forget," she said softly. Years passed. The space station changed. People came and went. Two young hearts held on to a promise made among the stars and in the quiet night sky. Stars kept their silent watch, waiting for a promise to be fulfilled. Liam Cross had grown into a quiet and thoughtful man. He was now 25 years old, working as a space engineer and linguist. He lived on Earth, but his heart was always looking toward the stars. He worked at the United Interstellar Research Center, a place where humans and aliens studied languages, history, and culture together. Liam had become an expert in alien dialects, especially the ancient and beautiful language of Borealis. His friends thought he chose that language because it was rare. They didn't know the real reason. Liam still remembered the little girl with silver blue hair and golden eyes. He remembered her laughter, the garden, and the bench under the crystal trees. He remembered the promise he had made when he was just a boy. "When I grow up, I'll come back and marry you." Some might say it was only a child's dream, but Liam never forgot. Over the years, He searched for news about the royal family of Aurealis. Most information was hidden or private. He didn't even know if Aveline still lived on the same world, or if she remembered him at all. Still, every time he looked at the stars, he whispered the same words. "I'm coming back." Inked. Day. One quiet evening, everything changed. Liam was in his office, reading old texts about Aurealis traditions, when his boss entered. "Liam," she said, "we've been invited to take part in a cultural exchange. The Aurealis High Council wants a human representative to help with new language programs." Liam sat up straight. "Did you say Aurealis?" His boss nodded. "Yes, it's a rare chance. You'd stay for 3 months. Work closely with their scholars, help translate texts and teach human customs. Are you interested?" Liam tried to stay calm, but his heart was racing. "Yes, I'll go." They journey. To Aurealis took 2 weeks by light-speed shuttle. Liam sat by the window every day, watching the stars pass by like rivers of light. He wondered if Aveline still remembered the boy from the garden dome. Would she recognize him now? Would she even care? When the shuttle finally arrived, Aurealis looked more beautiful than he had imagined. The planet shone with soft colors, lavender skies, glowing trees, and shining rivers. The buildings were tall and graceful, made of crystal and stone that shimmered in the sunlight. As the shuttle landed, a group of Aurealis officials greeted the visitors. Liam stepped off the platform, heart pounding, eyes scanning the crowd. He didn't see her, but something inside him whispered, "She's here." Liam was taken to the Royal Academy of Knowledge, a place filled with libraries, scholars, and learning halls. His job was simple: help translate old texts, give lectures about Earth, and attend quiet meetings. But every time he walked through the palace halls, he hoped to see her. Days passed then. One morning, he entered the Crystal Library and saw her. She stood by the window, her silver blue hair glowing in the sunlight. She wore a long robe of soft violet with patterns of stars and flowers. Her golden eyes turned toward him, calm and deep. It was Aveline. She didn't say anything at first. She simply looked at him, quiet, searching, thoughtful. Then she smiled. "You kept your promise." Liam couldn't speak for a moment. His chest felt tight, like all the years had suddenly returned to him. "You remember?" he said finally. "I never forgot," she replied. They sat together at a quiet table near the window. The library was empty, filled only with soft light. In silence, "I didn't know if you were still here," Liam said. "My people don't speak much of their royalty," she explained. "But I always hoped. Maybe one day." "I studied your language for years," he told her. "I looked for your name in every record." Aveline touched her bracelet gently, the same one Liam had given her as a child. "I kept this," she whispered, "even when they told me to throw it away." "Why?" "Because it reminded me of a world where promises matter," she said softly, "where friendship doesn't end because of duty." Over the next few weeks, Liam and Aveline met, often in quiet corners of the library, in the garden paths, or beside the moonlit lake. They talked about everything: their childhood dreams, the pressure of royal life, the future of their people. But something was always there unspoken. Aveline's smile would fade when palace guards appeared. Sometimes she looked far away. She was thinking of something painful. Finally, one evening, under the silver trees, Liam asked her, "What's wrong?" She looked at him for a long time. "I am promised to another," she said quietly. Liam's heart sank. "Promised for alliance. For duty. My father arranged it. It will be announced soon." Liam looked down. Stars above them felt distant now. "Then why meet me? Why remember?" Aveline touched his hand gently. "Because I still believe in the promise we made. I just don't know if I can keep it." Liam stood alone that night, staring at the sky. He had found her again. She remembered him, but the world around them had changed. Tradition, duty, and family stood between them. Still, he whispered the same words, "I'll wait. I'm not giving up yet." And far above them, the stars watched in silence, just as they always had. The palace of Borealis stood tall like a tower of light. Its walls shimmered with crystal that caught the sun, and its halls echoed with quiet music. Aveline walked through these halls every day, wrapped in beauty but not in freedom. She was the princess of a proud and old people. Her life was filled with duties, rules, and expectations. Every step she took was watched. Every word was measured. Everyone waited for her to act like a royal. But deep inside, she was still the girl who once laughed with a human boy in a quiet garden. She was still the girl who held on to a promise. That promise had returned, and his name was Liam. Since his arrival, Aveline had felt something in her heart wake up again. She had learned to hide her feelings well. But Liam's smile broke through her calm mask. He was no longer the boy she had once known. He had grown into a kind, strong man with steady eyes and a voice full of quiet strength. He spoke her language, fluently, not only with words, but with care and respect. They met often in the royal library or in quiet gardens. Their conversations were soft and full of memories. They talked about the past, but also about the future. Still, they both knew something stood between them. Aveline had been promised formally to Lord Keller, a noble from a powerful house. The match had been arranged years ago to unite two political families. It was a tradition, and breaking it would bring shame to her name. Aveline did not love Keller. They had barely spoken. But duty, she had been taught, must come before dreams. And yet, her heart whispered Liam's name every time she closed her eyes. One evening, Aveline sat on her high balcony, looking at the twin moons above the royal city. The night wind played with her silver blue hair. Below, the lights of the city twinkled like stars. But none of them comforted her. She felt trapped in a beautiful cage. A soft knock came at the side door. It was the one she had shown Liam, hidden behind the vines. She opened it, and he stepped inside quietly. "You shouldn't be here," she said, though her voice held no anger. "I had to see you," he replied. They stood together in the moonlight. The air was cool, but the silence between them felt warm. "I heard," Liam said, "that your engagement will be announced at the Festival of Harmony." She nodded slowly. "In 5 days?" He looked down. "Then I will leave before that." Her heart twisted. "Why?" "Because I can't watch you become someone else's bride." There was a long silence. Aveline reached for the bracelet on her wrist, the old wooden one he had made as a child. It looked out of place next to her royal jewels, but she wore it always. "I never removed it," she whispered, "because it reminded me who I really am." Liam stepped closer. "Then come with me. Leave before the ceremony. We can go anywhere Earth. The stars, a quiet planet where no one knows us." Aveline smiled sadly. If only it were that simple. "I know it's not," he said, "but I had to ask." The next day, Liam was called to a private meeting with the Queen. She sat on a high seat, graceful and wise. Her voice was gentle but clear. "You have shown great knowledge and respect during your time here," she said. "I must ask something. Important, what is your connection with my daughter?" Liam stood tall. He did not lie. "I met her as a child. I made her a promise. I came back to keep it." The Queen studied him. "Do you love her?" "Yes, with all that I am." The Queen was silent for a long time. Finally, she spoke. "Your heart is strong. But Borealis is not ruled by feelings. Our ways are old and deep. If Aveline chooses you, she must give up the throne and the future we planned." Liam understood, then let the choice be hers. That night, Aveline received a message from her mother. It said only this: "He spoke with courage. The rest is in your hands." She held the message close to her chest, her heart beating fast. Later, she stood in her chamber, looking at herself in the mirror. She saw not just a princess. She saw the girl who ran in the garden. She saw the woman who wanted to live freely, love deeply, and choose her own path. And slowly, she smiled. The day before the festival, Aveline met Liam one last time in the secret garden behind the tower. "I made my decision," she said softly. His eyes searched hers and, I will. Not marry for politics. He stared at her in disbelief. You mean I don't know what will happen next? She said. But I won't live someone else's life anymore. She reached out, took his hand, and placed her old bracelet in his palm. I believe in our promise, she whispered. Above them, the sky turned deep violet, and the stars began to shine. The tower of light behind them stood tall, but now Aveline was ready to walk out of its shadow. She had made her choice, and so had he. The palace of Aurealis gleamed like a jewel beneath the twin suns. Crystal walls and shining floors reflected every ray of light, making the halls seem alive with a soft glow. But behind this beauty, the air was heavy with whispered secrets and rumors that flowed like invisible rivers. Aveline walked carefully through the marble corridors, her heart pounding. Today was different. The festival was only 2 days away, and her decision to refuse the arranged marriage was no longer a secret. Her steps echoed softly, but everywhere she went, she could feel eyes watching her, some curious, some angry, and some hopeful. In the garden beneath the palace, Liam waited. His hands nervously twisted the wooden bracelet. Aveline had given him the same one she had kept since childhood. When she arrived, he smiled gently. How are you feeling? He asked. Aveline looked at the garden's glowing flowers. Afraid, but free. Liam nodded. You have courage? She smiled faintly. I learned it from you. They walked together beneath the crystal trees, their footsteps soft on the stone path. That afternoon the palace was filled with quiet talks. Nobles whispered behind closed doors. Servants hurried with messages. The royal court was divided. Some said Aveline was being foolish. Others hoped this act of bravery could change the future. Word spread that the queen had spoken with Liam. The old ruler was said to understand something many did not, that love and respect were not weaknesses. Still, pressure was real. Late that evening, Aveline met with her closest friend and advisor. Soren was wise and kind, with deep green eyes that seemed to see through every lie. You risk everything, Soren said quietly. Your people expect duty, not dreams. Aveline sighed. But I believe duty includes honesty, and the future can be different. Soren smiled. You are stronger than you know. But the court will not give up easily. Meanwhile, Liam spoke. With the scholars who taught him about Aurealis laws and customs, he learned that the ancient law of choice still existed, though rarely used, allowing a royal to reject an arranged marriage. If they had a true reason, this gave him hope. The days moved quickly. Aveline and Liam met in secret whenever they could. They walked the palace gardens under moonlight, shared stories, and dreamed of a world where their peoples could live in peace, not bound by old rules, but by friendship. Aveline told Liam about her childhood, the lessons, the loneliness, the hope she kept hidden beneath her royal smile. Liam shared stories of earth-wide oceans, green forests, and endless skies. They found comfort in each other's words, strength in their shared dreams. But the palace halls were not silent. Rumors grew louder. Some nobles demanded that Aveline obey her father and accept her fate. Others wondered if her choice was a sign of change, a chance to build bridges between worlds. The tension filled every room. On the night before the Festival of Harmony, Aveline stood alone on the balcony, watching the city lights flicker below. Liam joined her quietly. She took a deep breath. Tomorrow will decide everything, she said. Liam took her hand gently. No matter what happens, I will stand with you. Aveline smiled softly. Thank you. Your promise means more than you know. They stood together, silent under the stars, ready to face the future. The Festival of Harmony was a celebration of peace and unity between planets. Colorful lights decorated the palace grounds. Music filled the air. Diplomats and citizens gathered to honor tradition. But this year, everyone awaited one moment: the princess's announcement. Inside the great hall, Aveline walked forward, her silver blue hair shining under the crystal chandeliers. She wore a gown of deep violet, embroidered with patterns of stars and flowers. Her eyes swept over the crowd. Nobles sat in quiet judgment. The queen watched silently. Avelin's heart beat fast, but her voice was clear. "I stand before you. Today," she began, "not only as your princess, but as a woman who must choose her own path." A hush fell over the hall. "I will not marry for politics. I will not be bound by old promises that do not honor my heart." Some gasps echoed. Others whispered behind hands. She looked toward Liam, standing near the side. "I choose love. I choose respect. I choose to live in truth." Then she took a deep breath and stepped down from the stage. She walked through the crowd. Hand in hand with Liam, the hall was stunned. Some nobles whispered angrily, but others began to clap. The queen rose slowly, her eyes meeting Aveline's. Then, with a quiet smile, she nodded outside. The people cheered. Aveline and Liam stood together. No longer princess and visitor, but partners in a new beginning. The promise made in childhood was no longer a secret. It was a light that would guide two worlds forward. The day of the Festival of Harmony was filled with colors and music. The palace gardens were alive with lanterns and flowers from many worlds. Guests from planets near and far had gathered to celebrate peace. Beneath the joy, a quiet tension grew. Everyone waited for Princess Aveline's choice. Would she honor her family's wishes and accept Lord Keller as her future husband? Or would she choose Liam the human who had come all this way, who had kept a promise made years ago? Aveline stood behind the great doors of the palace hall. She wore a simple silver gown, without jewels or royal decorations. Her heart beat fast. Liam was nearby, watching her with calm eyes. He held her hand gently. She felt strength from his touch, but also the weight of what was about to happen. Together, they walked into the hall. The crowd fell silent. The queen sat at her throne, her face calm but serious. Nobles whispered among themselves. Aveline stepped forward. Her voice was steady. "I stand before you not only as your princess, but as a woman who must choose her own path." She looked at the faces of the people she had grown up with. Some eyes were kind, others were full of doubt. "My heart belongs to one who has shown me respect, kindness, and courage." She turned to Liam and smiled. "I choose Liam Cross." A soft murmur ran through the hall. Lord Keller, standing tall nearby, stepped forward. He did not show anger or disappointment. Instead, he bowed his head respectfully. "I respect your choice, Princess," he said. The crowd was surprised by his grace. The queen stood and spoke slowly. "Aveline, your choice will change the future of Aurealis. It is a brave act." She looked at Liam. "Do you understand what this means?" Liam nodded. "I understand. I am ready to stand with Aveline, no matter the challenges." The queen smiled gently. "Then let it be so. The ancient law of choice has been called." Outside the palace, celebrations began. People cheered for the princess who had followed her heart. But not all were happy. Some nobles whispered of change and risk. They feared what this union could mean for tradition and power. Yet others saw hope. Aveline and Liam had become a symbol of a new era, one where love and understanding crossed the stars. In the days that followed, Aveline and Liam prepared for their joining ceremony. It would be simple but meaningful. Aveline would give up her claim to the throne, but gain a new role, ambassador of peace between humans and Aurealis. It was a new path, one full of promise. On the day of the ceremony, the twin moons of Aurealis shone brightly over the hilltop where the event took place. Friends and family gathered. The sky was filled with stars. Aveline and Liam stood together, hands joined. The ceremony was simple, but full of meaning. They exchanged vows, not just of love, but of hope and unity. Aveline spoke softly. "I promise to honor my people and my heart." Added, "I promise to stand beside you as a friend and partner." Together, they smiled at the crowd. They were no longer just a princess and a visitor. They were two souls, joined across worlds. The festival ended with music and laughter. People danced beneath the stars, celebrating a future built on promises, kept in dreams fulfilled. For Liam and Aveline, this was just the beginning. Together, they would build bridges between their peoples and show that sometimes promise made in childhood can change the destiny of worlds. The twin moons of Borealis glowed softly in the sky. Below, on a quiet hill just outside the royal city, a small gathering stood beneath the stars. There were no golden thrones or bright banners. It's only family, close friends, and the sound of a gentle wind moving through crystal trees. Aveline and Liam stood side by side, the promise made long ago under starlight. Between two children was finally being fulfilled. They had walked a long road to reach this moment. Aveline wore a soft violet robe, tied with a silver ribbon. Her silver-blue hair was left open, flowing gently in the night breeze. She no longer wore the crown of Borealis, but she stood taller than ever before. Liam stood beside her in a simple deep gray outfit, designed by Borealis clothmakers to match their joining traditions. In his hand, he still held the wooden bracelet, the same one from their childhood, now worn and smooth from the years. It had been with him through everything, just like the memory of her. The ceremony was quiet and beautiful. There were no speeches from kings or grand music from royal bands. Instead, an elder from the Temple of Unity spoke soft words. Blessings passed down through generations. These two souls met not through power, but through honesty. Not through war, but through peace. Not through demand, but through promise. The elder said. He placed a small crystal between their joined hands. This crystal will shine as long as the bond is true. And as Liam and Aveline held it together, it began to glow with a warm, gentle light. The crowd watched in silence, moved by the moment. After the ceremony, the guests walked down the hill, leaving the couple alone under the stars. For a while, they stood without speaking, simply enjoying the quiet and each other's presence. Then Aveline turned to Liam with a small smile. Do you remember the garden? He nodded. The crystal trees? The fountain? The day I made that promise? I never thought you'd return, she whispered. But I always knew I would, he replied. They sat on the soft grass, looking up at the stars. It feels like the whole galaxy is watching, Liam said with a laugh. Let them watch, Aveline answered. We've earned this moment. In the days that followed, Aveline began her new role. She was no longer Princess of Borealis, but now she was something different, something just as important. The first ever ambassador between humans and Borealis. She traveled with Liam to Earth, where she met scientists, leaders, and even children who had only heard stories of her world. She gave talks about peace, about choosing one's own path, and about the power of promises. People listened. They respected her voice. Some were surprised by her humility, others by her wisdom. But everyone saw the light in her eyes when Liam was near. Liam returned to his work as a cultural researcher and engineer. But now, with Aveline by his side, everything felt new again. They lived part of the year on Borealis and part on Earth. Their home was a simpler place, filled with books, plants, music, and laughter sometimes. They would sit on the porch during the evenings and watch the sky together. They would talk about the past, their strange beginning, and the life they were building. And sometimes they didn't speak at all. They just held hands. Of course not. Everything was perfect. Some Borealis nobles still disapproved of Aveline's choice. Some human leaders questioned her presence in political talks. But Aveline and Liam remained calm. They answered questions with patience. They stood firm in their message. One day, during a speech, Aveline said, "Peace is not created by power. It is built by promises, kept and respected. This is our path. We walk it together." Those words were shared across star systems, years. Past the story of the human boy and the alien princess became more than a tale. It became a lesson told to children on both worlds. It became a symbol of unity between different lives, different cultures, and different dreams. And in a small room in the Borealis library, a sculpture was placed, a crystal tree beside a wooden bench. On it, a message was carved in both Earth and Borealis languages. He kept his promise, and she chose her. Heart. One evening, many years later, Aveline and Liam returned to the garden, where it all began. The station had changed. New buildings, new faces. But the garden was still there, and so was the bench. They sat down, just like they did as children. "It's still quiet here," Evelyn said. "Some places remember," Liam replied. She leaned on his shoulder. "And some promises last forever." Above them, the stars continued to shine, not just as lights in the sky, but as silent witnesses to a promise that began in innocence and ended in love.